Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin. We have a loaded show tonight. We got six. That's a half a dozen if you're a math guy. And then again, I don't know, I'm not a math guy, but I can figure that out anyways. But we have the dream team of football. Coach Bono, welcome back. Always enjoy having you on every week to talk about the gridiron.
Great to be here. Thanks, Scott.
Getting ready for that hurricane we got up north?
Starting to rain.
I hear you coming from the south. Alfar Jr., ready to talk some football?
Yes, sir. How's everybody doing?
All right.
Good.
And back is Bo. Bo knows football, as in football talk with Bo.
How's it going, guys?
I had to find some sort of a way to get Bo Jackson connected.
Yeah, exactly.
Easiest thing to do. I had to do it, my friend. All right, George Eichhorn.
Good to see everybody.
Last but not least, Travis Sherlock Holmes.
Hey, I hope everybody's staying dry out there. Hope everybody's staying safe.
I'm staying dry. I ain't going outside. It don't matter. That's usually one way to do it. But all right. Anyways, loaded show. Today's cut down day. I have a couple other interesting topics as well. So let's get right to it. LA Rams used to say it, but they're rebuilding. SeanmcVay, Lessmead. I don't know. What do you think, Coach?
They're definitely rebuilding. I mean, they, I've seen this. I've seen this before. I've been a part of it, two times. I mean, first time was in Jacksonville, and we didn't win the Super Bowl. Next year the Houston Texans come in the league and really bail us out. We were able to. But we sacrificed some really, really good players. You're talking about Tony Baselli and, two starting defensive linemen and Gary Walker and Seth Payne. And, it took a long time for it to recover from that. The Rams are going to see the same thing. They bought that lead. The one thing you can say for them, though, they did win the Super Bowl. But how much is that going to cost them? I'd be willing to bet any money that Les Snead and SeanmcVay won't be there the next time they win a Super Bowl.
Ooh, you're actually going out on a limb on one of these. I left that one to you. If you want to mention Les Snead and SeanmcVay on your part, that's yours, not because I pressed it. That's for sure.
No, I'm just saying, they may move on. You know what I mean? McVay is not going to be in a position where he can't win. Or where it's because it's so hard. I mean, he's built up his reputation. He's had numerous overtures to go into the booth. And now that he's a dad, all right. I mean, he don't need the money. Like Mel says, what's it going to cost to get him off the couch? That number is really high right now for him. So,
all right, Mel.
It's going to be a transition year for him without question. Obviously, they got rid of some players. I think Aaron Donald. I don't think he'll end up the year there. I think they might try to do something with him. But you got Matthew Stafford there, so you still have the opportunity. I mean, that was the guy that took him over the hump. So you still have a chance, and you still have a pretty good defense. And so you got some younger people now. You got some younger players now. You got rid of some high price. You got rid of a high price guy. You got rid of a few high price individuals. At some point in time, that was going to have to happen. You just can't. You just couldn't continue going on the way that they were spending. You just can't do it. Now the salary cap just won't allow you to do that. So you're going to have to sacrifice some people for the greater good of the team. Now, are they Super Bowl contenders this year? Probably not. Should they be competitive? I think so, because they have Matthew Stafford, who, a lot of you guys, think very highly of. I wasn't one of them. I think he's a great quarterback. He's put up huge numbers. But I don't think that with the things that he did with the Lions and so forth and so on. But I won't get into that. But I think they still have an opportunity to compete because of how people feel about Matthew Stafford and his talent. So I think it's going to be a transition year for him, and I think you'll see some other things happen down the road that will set them up for the future because you know, they, like Coach said, they bought that championship. They have that to show for it. I think, you know, we're gonna see what type of coach Sean McVay is. Everybody talks about he's a boy genius. Talks about how great of a coach he is. Guess what? He's going to coach this year, so we'll see how, you know, see what kind of coach he is.
Okay, Bo.
Yeah. So, I mean, to your point, Stafford is a stat monster, right? You saw him do those kinds of things in Detroit. He didn't, but it doesn't always translate to wins. And I think that's where they're going to fall apart this year. Is they're going to be competitive, but they're not going to win a lot. They'll be in games that they lose. And then, you know, the thing is they went all in on that Super Bowl, and it's only dumb if it doesn't work, right? They got a ring, they got the banner. You can't take it away. I do feel a little bit bad for Rams fans moving forward, though, because this is probably Stafford's last year. Donald will probably move on. Coaching staff will move on really in the next year or two. So this is going to be, I mean, transition year, sure. It's probably realistically bordering on a full-on rebuild with the amount of pieces they're going to have to, you know, move and add.
Well, Bo, you probably dive into this area more than most. I guess if I'm understanding what you're saying, okay, if you're into fantasy football, and I'm not, there was a time when I played it a little bit, Matthew Stafford would be a good pickup, wouldn't he?
Yeah, Stafford was always a great pickup. You know, Kirk Cousins was the same guy, right? Like whether he was in Washington or with the Vikings, it doesn't always equate to wins or the team they're on, but they were awesome ads if you played fantasy football because both those guys average 4,000 yards a year. They have a pretty solid touchdown to interception ratio. I mean, when it comes down to like fantasy sports, they do great. When they were on your team, they would throw for 4,400 yards and somehow you'd still be, you know, a 7-win team.
Okay, well, I had to throw that in there. All right, George.
Well, Matthew Stafford's got to be saying to himself, what did I get into? I mean, yeah, I got the ring, I got the championship, but I didn't expect this kind of problem. And heck, I know Kelly, his wife, has put comments out there already on social media. She's always done that, even in Detroit here when she wants to say her piece. But yeah, I just, you know, how the mighty have fallen. I think of that, you know, it's just incredulous. It's, you know, you won the Super Bowl last year with all the problems they had. They fell apart. This year maybe looks a little bit better, but I agree with you guys. I don't think they're going to be contenders for the crown. But boy, oh boy, I mean, and I know Matthew is a team player. He's got his money. He's all set, but he wants to win, and he didn't come there to lose. So I know that the Stafford question will be asked by many people, but I agree with Coach. I mean, they got their championship, they got the ring, and yeah, a little bit was bought and paid for, but boy, oh boy, the mighty have fallen. That's all I can say.
All right, last word, Travis Holmes.
I mean, it's the same story we see from a lot of NFL teams that have that short-term mentality. You have to burn while the iron's hot. You have to spend what you have to spend and be uber aggressive to win that championship. When we see it all over the place, whether that be to Coach Bono's point, Jacksonville in what the 2014, 2015 season,
Yeah.
you have
like 99.
Oh, well, the 99 season also.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, so we've had it a few times. You have the Rams, of course, and you have the Bucks. Even when you have Brady, that means you're spending to the cap to make sure you just get all the players you can get on that defense and on that O line. Well, the Rams made that mistake, and kind of Philadelphia is kind of doing that same thing right now, if you want to call a spade a spade. But if you get the championship, it doesn't matter. Everybody's kind of spinning in that uber aggressive way, and cool if you win the championship, but it's not going to give you that Bill Belichick 20-year reign. It's not going to give you that Mike Tomlin, reign of having a 500 team or better religiously and consistently. Your bad years will be bad. And especially with the Rams having the injuries that they had last season, you already have these aging guys. And with the bloated contracts, that's a recipe. It's a high risk, high reward recipe. But if you don't have the best team, you have to make those moves. You have to make those high risk moves because you're competing with the team that has a 1-in-1 anomaly in Pat Mahomes. Like, that is the bar. Like you're trying to build something that's already a one-off. to beat a guy who's a one-off. Well, good luck. So we haven't seen, we haven't seen McVay coach up a 500 team, coach up with just an average team. Like we can say we've seen that from those other top 5 coaches, right? Those Mike Tomlins, those Bill Belichick's, things, coaches of that stature. I mean, even Shanahan, those types of coaches, when they don't have the best team out there, we haven't seen that from McVay. And the first time we got to have that conversation, we were having conversations about him potentially retiring, and he's not even been coaching that long. Like he has 1 to 2 years of figuring out whether or not he can do this. Like, does he have it in him? And we're gonna find out this year. But it looks to be eerily, it mirrors a rebuild. Call it what you want to call it. It looks like a rebuild. It smells like a rebuild. It smells like what's happening in Tampa Bay. So we'll see how it looks on the field. Maybe they can squeeze out a 500 record, and everybody will be singing the boy genius's praises.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add to this is, for sure, Stafford got the ring, but this was a win-win trade all the way along, right? Lions got draft capital. Jared Goff hasn't embarrassed himself. So when you talk about trades that are win-win, I do believe in my mind this is a big example of that. So let's transition over to Stafford's old team. And I love stories like this. I really, really do. And that's why I incorporated this one in it. Detroit Lions Foundation and the American Heart Association host CPR training for the Detroit Public Schools Community District. I mean, who would not want to see anybody hosting a CPR training for anybody? This to me is something that when I see topics like this, I always feel the need to put them out there. Coach, you're a part of the Lions CPR training. Good luck. I hope it's successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Great cause. Great for them to be involved, helping out. I applaud it.
Mel?
What was that, Scott? I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll go over it again. Detroit Lions Foundation.
Have a lightning storm going overhead.
I think Charlie Sanders had started something with the foundation when he was there. And I can't remember the reason why, but I know he was real big with it was a give a heart or have a heart or something like that before he passed away. And he was really involved with that. So, I mean, obviously that's something that, right now it's that, since we had the incident last year with damarhamlin, and you see what's going on with LeBron James' son. I mean, the more people that are that can recognize these types of symptoms or recognize what's going on and be able to act quickly, the better off it's going to be for that individual who's in distress. So, these type of educational programs are great for everybody, particularly, if you're one of the people who's in distress and needs some help. So, I think it's great that the Lions are doing something like this. I don't know if it's, continuing on what Charlie Sanders used to do, but whatever it is, I think it's a good thing.
Paul?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's awesome. Plus, having a skill like that is something everybody should have. I mean, you never know when you're going to encounter a situation, and you never know if you're going to be the only one there. So it's something that everyone should have a basic understanding of. So this is a great move on their part for sure.
George?
Yeah, that story made big news here in Detroit. Obviously, the Lions are stepping forward, and I appreciate that. Every Tuesday, they do stuff in the community. I think a lot of NFL teams do that. And the Lions are right at the forefront. Every Tuesday, there's usually a story on one of the local news stations about how the players and coaches are in the community. And I give the Lions a lot of credit. For years, they had a wonderful man named Tim Pendell. And Tim Pendell was in charge of alumni relations. And he did a fantastic job. But Tim retired. And they have another a lady in there now running community and alumni relations. So I'm happy that they're doing that. Our community here certainly needs it. So it's a win-win for the kids and obviously for the Lions being involved in their community.
Well, I can tell you this, they've taken away the alumni box, the box that they used to have for the alumni in Detroit and the 100 tickets that they used to give.
I did not know that, Mel.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Wow.
They sold the box. The guys didn't even know about it. they said, hey, because of the demand for tickets, they just went ahead and sold the box to somebody who wanted it, and they're not giving them the 100 tickets they used to give them per game. So a lot of the alumni up there are not very happy right now.
Well, thanks for adding that, Mel. Okay, Travis.
I mean, yeah. I don't think you can't say this is a bad situation. Like there's no world where it's bad to have more people having that knowledge out there, and to put it into the public schools where it can be spread out, to 6 degrees of separation. It's always a good idea. I'm CPR certified. I've had to renew my license every year for 6 years now. I learned at my last stop. And it's not a bad thing. It's actually a really smart thing. And that I was happy to be CPR certified because honestly, I didn't know you had a different CPR for people of different, weights and sizes. Like if you have a baby, you have to hold them by the foot and do it, upside down versus if it's a toddler, the different frequency of the beat as far as how fast their heart rate goes, like all these things that most normal people just don't know. So to actually train that out into the public, putting that into the actual public schools, there's no world where that's a bad idea. Like more information is always going to be better than less. So someone out there is going to have their life saved and be able to either directly or indirectly thank the Detroit Lions, and that's a great thing. Hand claps for them.
Well, I should also point out that damarhamlin made the Bills 53-man roster. Anytime I associate CPR, I always have to put Chuckhughes into the conversation as well. So how do you not? Obviously, the medicine is far different now than it was in 71, but Chuckhughes, damarhamlin, but anything you can do with CPR to teach the younger people, more power to them.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
You guys had the Reggie Brown injury also. That was you. That was Detroit, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Reggie Brown was paralyzed for a moment.
Yeah, he was
I thought he wasn't breathing on the field though, wasn't he?
He did start breathing on the field for a moment, but yeah, his was a spinal neck injury.
Right. It's a good point. Yeah, but I always associate
Mike Utley. Mike Utley was paralyzed.
I was at the Mike Utley game. I was at the game with Mike Utley there. That was tough. And then I would see him a year later after Thanksgiving. I talked to him on the side. What a Class A person Mike Utley is. All right, something occurred today. Well, let's get to it. Where will baileyzappe land? Because obviously he's not in Patriot land. So, all right, Coach, have any ideas where you think Bailey will be off to next?
Man, I'm gonna defer on this one because I want to hear what the panel has to say because I really don't know.
All right, so do you want to come in after the panel then voice your opinion?
I'll give him a thumbs up or thumbs down.
That works for me. This guy, he's getting good at this broadcasting thing. I know what I want to say something. Okay, well then we'll turn over to Mel, and then we'll let Coach give the thumbs up. I like that.
So when I saw this, I was really surprised, and I had to go back and do some research on it. So they let go of Baileyzappe, and they let go of Malik Cunningham, who was also still on the roster. They had let go of Trace McSorley yesterday. So I'm like, well, who do they have on the roster as a quarterback? And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they only have one quarterback on the roster right now. I'm like, well, you have to have some pretty big gonads to do that, to expose your quarterbacks like that. I believe that Bailey will be back with the team. Now, if I was a GM, just being me, I'd snatch him up just so that Bill Belichick couldn't have him. if I had the ability to do that. If I had the roster flexibility to do that, because how dare you expose this guy knowing that you're going to bring him back? The guy played well for him last year. I think it's 3 or 4 starts that he had when macjones was injured. And a lot of people were calling for Zappe to play. And a lot of people thought that Zappe maybe should get an opportunity to start for the franchise because some people, like some of you guys on the panel, aren't too high on macjones. I like macjones. I think Bill Belichick did macjones a disservice last year. I said it last year. I think that was the worst thing he could possibly do for his development, is to have a defensive coach with no previous play calling experience on the offensive side of the ball, become the offensive coordinator. And I said it was going to stunt his growth, and it did. It affected him. But now he has somebody that he's very familiar with there, and I think he'll do well. But I think that, to answer your question, I think that Zappe will be back on the roster. I think they exposed him to keep somebody else on the roster that they can put on injured reserve, so they'll be able to come back in 4 to 6 weeks, however long you have to stay in injured reserve now.
All right, Bo, what do you think?
Yeah, I think ultimately they end up bringing him back. He'll probably clear waivers and then they'll throw him on the practice squad or something, basically to massage that roster. Either that or they have a plan to maybe go get Colt McCoy or something like that that has a history of being a really good quality backup quarterback.
George?
Yeah, I agree with what Mel and Bo said. I mean, they did expose him. He's on the waiver wire. We'll see if anybody picks him up. But my inclination is going to be that he's going to end up back on New England's roster. He did well in those games he filled in last year. The fans were chanting his name. I remember from a couple of those victories, and he hasn't had a terrible preseason. I mean, he hasn't had, I don't think, any interceptions this preseason in the amount of work that he gave, or the amount of work he turned in the games that he played. So yeah, it is kind of weird though to see a team like any team in the pros with no quarterback. I mean, one quarterback, your starting quarterback, but they'll take care of that in the next 24 hours, I bet, with him or pick up somebody else.
What do you think, Travis?
Well, it's interesting just looking at the teams at the top of the waiver wire. I mean, he obviously would have to clear waivers, and he's at least someone who he is someone who I believe NFL teams would at least question whether or not they should give him a chance. Like, that's why I'm like, will he clear waivers? Because he's still a quarterback. And he's a quarterback that you at least have tape on. He's not like a brand spanking new rookie. He's not, he's someone that's a hard one. And because of that, it makes me think of one of two teams, like someone like Los Angeles Rams, which we were just talking about, which I think is interesting because I believe the Rams only have, Stetson Bennett backing up Stafford. So then that's a questionable one because I'm not 100% sure how they feel about him, if I'm being real about it. Or someone like the Carolina Panthers, who have Andy Dalton as their backup. Like, that's a different one because they have Bryce Young as their starter, and they're different types of quarterbacks stylistically. So I'm wondering, do they want someone who's going to stay within the scheme of the offense? Cool. Then maybe taking a flyer on someone like Zappe makes sense. But those top 5-6 teams, he doesn't fit the style of their offense. He just doesn't. They're already rebuilding their offense with someone who is athletic, like the starting quarterback. Someone who can run and pass. And Zappe he's a guy, but he's also still a guy who might get that flyer. And that, because of that, I think I'd question whether or not he would just clear waivers.
All right, tell you what I think on this one. I don't know why. I just have a feeling on this. And Coach, it's like when you have a feeling, right? A real feeling, right? I have a feeling that the Arizona Cardinals could come into play because of Kyler Murray's lack of durability. What do you think? I don't know.
They just signed Joshua Dobbs. They just traded for him, didn't they? Yeah.
I don't care about Joshua.
Yeah, Josh Dobbs. I mean, I thought about that one too.
Yeah, Joshua Dobbs, all well and good. It's just a feeling. I just have a feeling. See, they signed Joshua Dobbs knowing that they didn't have, Bailey Zappe to snap up, but you never know. Coach, tell us what it's like. You have the 53-man roster, right? But then what happens in those couple of days? Okay,
well, they must feel that the worst case scenario is that they bring them back,
right.
Or somebody is released from another team that maybe they like better, So, who's going to be the backup in Dallas? Cooper Rush could be out on the street, and that kid, he's put in some tremendous performances for a guy that's a backup in critical parts of the situation of the season, primetime games when they had to win. I mean,
well, I guess TBD, and you know what we'll do? We'll revisit this topic next Tuesday night to see where the Zappe world turns. How does that sound?
Yeah.
I think they have a plan.
I do.
I mean, all of our opinions are good. I just want to see where we wind up. What do we really mainly have? Him going back to the Patriots, me with the thought of going to the Cardinals, So, yeah, I think it's a topic we can bring back next week. What's that?
Like Bo said, practice squad. If they could hide him there.
Why they put him on? I don't know why they put him on the practice squad. They need a backup quarterback. You can't have a backup quarterback
Right.
on the practice
What
squad.
about
They got to
that?
have somebody back him up.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of that's when we talked about this before the
I'm
show.
saying
As
if they
far
get somebody else better.
Oh, got you.
All right,
then
well,
yeah, it's a practice squad option.
You know what they say. You got to dance with the girl that you brought. You know.
And they surely
You know what
brought.
they say about grass being green on the other side of the fence.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, you were dancing around the topic. Now I'm going to bring it up now that you did this to me. All right. So the San Francisco 49ers trade Treylance to the Dallas Cowboys for a 4th-round pick. They keep Sam Darnold as number 2. All right, Coach. What do you think of this move? Do you think the 49ers gave up on Lance too quickly? Although from what I hear, he requested
No,
that.
no, I think this is a win for everybody. You know, I think that, you know, it's a win for the 49ers because they found Brock Purdy, right? I mean,
Right.
and you know, you can't make it up. I mean, he's another guy. He had his opportunity, and man, he did great. You know, so they're saying we're going to stick with him, and it's not so much that they don't like Treylance. It's just, I mean, Treylance now almost, and it's not like they made a mistake in drafting him. They lucked out. They got this, you know, lightning bolt of you know, sunshine that just struck down on them, and they found this Brock Purdy kid. So
Right.
they have an asset they get rid of, and they make their team stronger. I think it's and for Trey, he gets a fresh start with the new team, because I think the kid's got a chance to be good. I think he's, you know, it isn't like, I guess the point I'm making it's not like Trey Lance is a bust, you know.
Right.
I think
Hasn't played enough to know.
yeah, exactly. That's right. You can't know that yet on him. I think he's got, and for him to have a fresh opportunity somewhere else, that's great.
Mel?
Yeah, I totally agree with Coach. You know, you can't say, you know, definitely can't say he's a bust because he hasn't had an opportunity to play. We really don't know what Trey Lance is. He hasn't taken that many snaps since high school. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. You know, everybody wins but the kid. You know, Trey is in a very difficult situation. He's going to have to really do some soul searching. You know, his confidence might be rocked a little bit. He might be a little down on himself right now. You know, I don't know what Jerry Jones' purpose was for trading for him. I think they could have got him. He would have been on the street, but maybe they would have had to go through the waiver process as far as being able to claim him. But like Coach said, I mean, they got lightning in the bottle with Brock Purdy. You never expect that to happen. Kind of happened with New England when they had Drew Bledsoe. All of a sudden, this guy from Michigan steps out there, and, you know, the rest is history. It's 6th rounder, number 199, pick number 199, and the rest is history. Trey got hurt, and unfortunately, injuries can be a part of the game. And, you know, when you get hurt, you give somebody else an opportunity, and this guy took advantage of that opportunity. He took off and ran with it. You know, I've watched the guy play in college for a number of years. I've always thought he was a very capable quarterback, and it didn't surprise me the things that he did once he got to the NFL, especially in that system. It's an unfortunate situation, again, like I say, for Trey, but, you know, the thing that's unfortunate is once you get cut, it gets easier for you to get cut. You know, once you know, and generally it takes a long time for people to admit a mistake. General managers, coaches, when you know, have that much draft capital in somebody and give up 4 players for them, you give up 3 firsts and a third.
Right.
You're usually gonna do everything in your power to find out, to give this guy every opportunity to prove that you were right, that he can't play. And, you know, I was listening to Bill Polian one time, and they asked him, have you ever drafted somebody, and you know, when you got him there, he just couldn't play, and they said, yeah, man, we took this offensive lineman in the 1st round. Within 3 days, I knew he couldn't play. After 3 practices, I knew he couldn't play in this league. He said, hey, sometimes it just happens. You know, the word on the street is when Trey got there, he wasn't as athletic as they thought he was. What does that mean? I don't know. So it's, you know, it's an opportunity for him to sit behind Dak and you know, lick his wounds, and hopefully, you know, he'll you know, get another opportunity somewhere else. I'm not sure if it's going to be in Dallas, but hopefully he gets an opportunity somewhere else.
Okay, Bo, I want you to read this comment first and then provide your opinion.
All right. If you pick Sam Darnold over a guy you traded up for to give up so much capital, you got a fourth back. Maybe Lance isn't the same player. You picked him third overall. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is he hasn't played a ton. He's been hurt. I mean, he basically he's played 4 games since he got in. I mean, just to give you some perspective, Geno Smith had more snaps last season than Lance has since middle school. So it's not like he's had a ton of starts. So liquid death, I like it. So yeah, no, I mean, it's who knows what Lance is like. We haven't seen him play enough. You have no idea. So for them to move off of him, like Mel said, it's a win for the front office because they didn't double down on a bad decision. Not to say that they shouldn't have picked him, but with everything the way that it went, him being hurt, them finding lightning in a bottle with Purdy. They go and grab Darnold, who allows them to keep, some systematic consistency if Purdy does go down because they play a similar style ball. You're not requiring your offensive line to now change everything about how they block and how they open holes because now you have a really athletic guy. So for them to move on from him made a ton of sense. Obviously they want that back. They would have rather not have given away 3 firsts and a fourth 3 firsts and a third, right? And then they get a fourth back. So, I mean, obviously you don't want to make that trade. That never looks awesome. But I credit the front office a ton on being, hey, you know what? We messed up. Let's move on and not double down on something that hasn't worked.
George?
Well, if I'm Jerry Jones, I needed an insurance policy. We all know how often Dakprescott has got hurt, guys. So they went out, they were aggressive, and I'm glad they did that. I think Jones, made the right move. I mean, I agree with everybody. He doesn't have the stats yet to back him up, but like Mel said, he's got good talent. He's a good signal caller, and I've got confidence. I think it's a good move for the Cowboys, and it's a good move for like you said, the 49ers. They're obviously moving on as well. They should with who they have and with Brock Purdy. But I'm telling you, Treylance, they needed a very dependable person. They felt in backing up Prescott.
So to respond to that, I mean, if you're worried about Dak getting hurt, I don't know if bringing in a guy that's only been able to manage 4 starts since he was drafted is the right answer.
I mean, it's no different. That's the San Francisco route normally because that's what they do. Their running backs, they have like 4 injury-prone running backs, and as long as all of them just last at least 3 games, then we'll be able to make it through, a season with these 5 different backs.
That's why I think Cooper Rush doesn't leave the team. I think they still need him.
Yeah, I don't think Cooper Rush is leaving. I mean, he's not ready to back up right now. I mean, he can be now Sam Darnold. I mean, I think they're going to put him on the practice squad, or maybe he'll be the emergency quarterback. But I don't think he's ready to be a backup right now. And then he's got to get his head together. He's got to learn a new offense. He's coming from I know it's West Coast system, but it's it's Mike McCarthy's offense. So he's just going to be sitting there. That's all he's going to be doing. He's just going to be sitting there learning, running the scout team.
I don't know why everybody's mad about San Francisco. If you want to be honest about this, I know I'm supposed to be angry, and if you're a San Francisco fan, are you truly angry at the team for finding a quarterback? I mean, at the root of all of this, like let's strip away everything else. Let's not talk about the draft capital. Let's not talk about the team makeup. What was the goal when they made the trade? It was the goal of finding a quarterback of the future. They gave up Tyreek Hill. They gave up Bradley Chubb. They gave up Jalen Waddle, basically, because that's what those picks turned into, those 3 first-rounders. And that's a lot to give up. Don't get me wrong. That is a tremendous amount to give up. However, what was the goal? What was the goal they set out to do? To get a quarterback. They got the quarterback, which is the hardest position to build for a team who is religiously good at building the rest of the team, other than the quarterback. They found a way. If you strip everything else away, they gave up 3 first-round picks to get a quarterback, and they got a quarterback. Cool. Like at the end of the day, that's a good job. They achieve your goal, and everything else is just us talking about it because it's off season and we have to. Like John Lynch probably would want to take that trade back because it's not a great trade. but you do what you have to do. You throw everything against the wall. You make some high-risk decisions because at the end of the day, the goal is to find the quarterback because you can't win without them, and they did that.
So,
Amen.
All right, before I say anything
Jimmy
else,
Garoppolo got him to a Super Bowl,
Yeah.
didn't he?
Well, and they've been to 3 out of the last 4 championship games. So they've been able to do it without their guy anyway. And, so, I think they want their picks back, but I
think San Francisco, I think, Kyle Shanahan is very arrogant, and, he's for whatever reason, he's never satisfied. And
is that a bad thing or a good thing?
I think that this is gonna bite him in the rear end because I think he's got some bad karma out there.
All right,
So-
you know what? Before I comment on this, I'll let everybody know that Inside the Pigskin being broadcast around the world.
I mean, how do you lose that one Super Bowl? The Atlanta Falcons. How do you lose that? Really?
Missing your target by 5+ yards down the field is, it shouldn't have been that close anyway. But
Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't the reason why they lost. It was a play call. Matt Ryan wasn't the reason why they lost that game. It was the play calling. It was terrible. Run the ball, shorten the game. He's out there trying to show everybody how smart he is. Oh, look what I can design. Oh, look at this play. Look at that play.
All right, before I comment,
3 and out, and just keep giving the ball back to Brady.
All right, before I comment on the matter, I just want to make one thing out there known. Just, Inside the Pigskin being broadcast around the world, the audio version of Inside the Pigskin can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on South Florida, on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers, over the 900 mark, by the way. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. We're trying to get there. So also want to be a guest? Well, chat room's one way to do it, or send your topic ideas at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Want to advertise cost efficiently? Call me, myself, and I, okay, at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter/X @Tribune South is where you can find us there. And Candy Ebling is behind the scenes. All right, all I'll say about this is that as much as you hated to see the treylance experiment not work out, when you can make a good decision in personnel to find a quarterback, I've seen bigger mistakes than that. That's all I'm going to say about it. So
Right.
I have, and not like this catastrophic mistake because they got Brock Purdy, okay?
Right.
And Samdarnold, is an experienced backup, and we'll see what happens as they add other quarterbacks if they need a third one. So, all right, you know what? I'll go one more, and then, Mel, you're going to take it over, all right? Arizona State self-imposes a bowl ban for 2023. It occurred under former coach Hermedwards, who, by the way, I lost respect when he didn't. I'll never forget this for as long as I live with this guy, okay? When he says he's never seen a person die in the field and he's 67 years old, he don't know as much about the history of pro football as I thought. With that said, okay, Arizona State self-destructs, and they impose a bowl ban for 2023. What do you think, Coach?
Well, there's only one reason anybody does that, okay? And it's the same thing we talked about last week with Michigan. That means the NCAA is involved and sanctions are imminent, okay? They're coming. So, it's and again, it's the same as Michigan in a lot of ways, a lot of similarities. Is it's almost like a plea deal. They're going to impose these sanctions on themselves with the idea that when the NCAA comes along, they say, okay, well, you served your penance. Now, the unfortunate thing is, it occurred under Herm's watch, and he's gone. You know what I mean? So it's the mess that's left behind for the new staff. But I don't know. It's probably I don't know how good they are. I haven't looked at the roster and all that. I don't know how strong of a team they're expected to have. But in the end, in the long run, Herm probably won't coach again. If he does, and it's in the college level, he's going to have a show cause. But it's one of those. It's a plea deal. Enough said.
it's a show cause, but you know what? He got paid for $1 million. He's a lot smarter than most of them. He got $4 million for a show cause. For a lot of these guys, wouldn't have got paid. So the guy is a shrewd businessman. And you're right. And here's the thing. You're right, Coach. If they finish under 500, what's the difference? You're giving imposing a bowl ban on a team that isn't any good.
It's not going to be roll eligible, right?
Yeah, we'll see whether or not that Arizona State football smarter than we think they are, because they know what they've got and knew they're not going to be any good. Let's just show good intentions and cough up a bowl ban. So, all right, I said my piece. So I'm going to turn it over to Mel with this topic. 3 more to go, people, and then Mel's going to take it from there.
Yeah, I'm like, Coach, it's a NOLO plea. You know, hey, we're not admitting any guilt, but hey, we're going to go ahead and sanction ourselves for the things that happened with the previous regime. And, you know, the thing that's bad about it is these new guys, some of the new guys that are in there had nothing to do with, you know, that are going to have to suffer this ban, this bowl ban. They had nothing to do with, well, we know the coaching staff did, but some of the players had nothing to do with, you know, with this, you know, with what happened with the previous regime. And they're going to have they're going to miss out on an opportunity to play in a bowl game. That's if they're bowl eligible. So, I mean, it's probably a good thing that they probably went ahead and did it this year, because I don't know who the head coach is over there. And I don't know, I haven't looked at their roster, like Coach said, and I don't know how good they're going to be. They probably weren't going to be bowl eligible anyway this year anyway. So, I mean, really, this is, like I said, they just plead NOLO and they say, hey, you know, we'll just go ahead and take the bowl ban this year. We know we're not going to be good, but we're going to be better next year.
Okay, Bo, what do you think about a bowl ban? I have to use the BO tonight. It's working so nice.
Yeah, so I mean, it's exactly that, right? Like, it's that preemptive strike of what you know is coming, and I don't think they were going to be bowl eligible anyway. They're not going to be an amazing team. So I mean, if you do it in a year where there's transition and you're already not going to be good, better than if you had a team that was potentially going to fight for something. So, I mean, it's a smart move. It's gamesmanship. Who knows what the NCAA will actually come down with, though.
George?
Yeah, I was reading up on this a little bit, and what they were afraid of is they did not want to get slapped like Tennessee was slapped with $8 million on Tennessee, the NCAA, and multiple recruiting penalties, including a loss of 28 scholarships at Tennessee. So Arizona State took a really hard look at this and says, no, we can't do that. We can't afford it. Now, they still might get it from the NCAA, but they took the proactive strike and say we're not going to be not going to play in a bowl game this next postseason. And you guys are right. I mean, they're not going to be eligible if they're under 500. Rarely do they have to pick a team under 500. Sometimes they do because there's so many bowl games. But yeah, they're trying to avoid the big sentence that came down on Tennessee and trying to give the first-year coach Kenny Dillingham some breathing room.
Okay. Travis?
This is a fun one, but I think both what Mel stated and what George stated is kind of where I'm leaning on that one. They weren't going to be bowl eligible. They were a terrible team, last year already. So we already kind of know that. So saying that's like your child saying, "All right, cool, I'll eat my spaghetti for dinner." Like, forget the broccoli. I'll eat my spaghetti for dinner. Like, you were going to do that anyways. Like, that's not a punishment. Like, that's what was going to happen. And to George's point, yeah, I don't think Arizona State had the same money as Tennessee. You know, they don't have the same booster program. They don't have the same makeup as far as that's concerned. I mean, obviously a smaller conference even to get that kind of money for that fine. So why not say I'm punishing myself before knowing what this team looks like? And more importantly, they did this a few days before the season started. So they know what the team looks like. This is not like it's an ambiguous, like, I don't know what's going to happen. No, you've seen them practice for weeks. You know exactly what they look like. And they're probably not going to be very good. So you know what? We're just going to ban ourselves. Like, come on, man. More importantly, they treated those kids in bad faith. Think about it from that perspective. Those kids are stuck now for this season on a team that they had no knowledge was going to have a bowl ban that their school self-imposed at the last second, a week before the season starts. That is the wildest part of this, because they did it when those kids were blindsided, and that sucks.
I mean, they kind of knew they weren't going to be bowl eligible.
Well, bowl eligible is one thing to say. I have no option. You know what I mean? Those kids signed on to a team without knowledge that they were even going to be like bowl bands generally aren't in the conversation these days. Like again, even Tennessee didn't get one, right? There's just money. They're trying not to do that because that messes with the money, that messes with the TV money. I fully understand. I fully get that. So to self-impose it for people who had no knowledge of that, that's kind of screwed up.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the people that might affect, though, they can hit the transfer portal, like if they think they have a better shot somewhere.
A week before the season starts, though, they're stuck for this year.
You'd be surprised, man. Like some of those hit it more than once. So I mean, it's anything's possible. Like if you wanted to try and get somewhere, I mean, you'd have to be a stud, though.
Right, a stud at Arizona State. Yeah.
They probably have one.
All right, cool. So you're talking to that one. I got you.
All right. Well, you know what? Several great points across the board. Mel, what do you got?
This is not my topic, but so Sudfeld tore his ACL. That's what they're saying. And they're going to go with Bridgewater as the backup.
That made that an easy decision.
Yep.
I don't think Bridgewater would have. I mean,
we know how you feel about Bridgewater. Oh,
right.
Man.
So I know a lot of you guys have heard about Matthew Stafford's wife and what she said on her podcast. I'm not going to get into, should she be discussing pillow talk on her podcast or anything like that. I don't whether it's appropriate or not. But my question is, and Coach Bono, you've been in locker rooms where you had veterans, you got rookies, and so forth. Whose responsibility do you feel it is to try to connect with the younger players? Do you feel it's the younger players that should go up to Matthew Stafford, or is it Matthew Stafford should reach out to the younger players? He said, he can't connect with these young guys. All they do, used to be when in the locker room they might be playing cards or dominoes or whatever. Now he goes out there, every kid's on his phone, and he says he just can't connect with these players. I mean, how difficult is it to walk by a guy and say, "Hey, what up, man?" Just to say something to him, tap him on the shoulder or something like that as you're walking by with your towel wrapped around your waist, walking out of the shower. But Coach, whose responsibility is it? Whose responsibility do you believe it is? Is it the younger person responsibility to reach out to Matt Stafford, or should Matt Stafford be the one reaching out to the younger player? Because a lot of these guys, I mean, they probably look up to Matt Stafford. They're probably scared of him.
Exactly. I think that's the deal. I mean, in a perfect situation, it's symbiotic. It happens from, the young player wants to learn. He wants to be around the best. He's picking the best players on the team to emulate and learn what their routine is, how they manage their body, how they handle their family business, and all of those things that a young player needs to learn. But also believe that you lead from the front, and as the leader of the team, you're going to have to depend on these guys, these young guys, and they're going to play critical roles on the football team. Then I need these guys if I want to win, right? So yeah, it's incumbent on me as a leader to make myself available, to reach out, to find a way to get to their level, right? I mean, that's all part of it, right? I mean, I've always believed that as a coach, if you have 100 players, you have to know all 100 personalities. You have to understand what makes those kids tick, what they respond to. Not everybody's going to respond to hard coaching. Right. Some guys, that might be the only thing they do respond to. Right. So, you have to be able to ask those tough questions and create an environment, but also opportunity for those conversations to happen. And again, that's where the head coach and the coaching staff comes involved. So it's you can't really put it on one person. It's more the culture of the organization, the culture of the team, and ultimately it's the head coach that drives that.
All right, let me just mention some of the chat room, Mel, first, and then continue. Jeremy Ballrick, from other sources, Stafford asked the equipment guy, take a picture of all the young guys and put their name next to it like a directory. All right, Mel, continue on.
Yeah, I know. I remember when I got drafted by Denver, and Tony Dorsett got traded to Denver that year. I'm like, man, I watched this guy at Pittsburgh. I wore your number when I was in junior high school. I thought I was Tony Dorsett. So, I mean, a lot of times you're just in awe. And then I looked at him, I was like, man, this little bitty guy was raising all this sand, because Tony Dorsett is a little man. I'm like, this little guy was raising all that sand. Unbelievable. But I mean, he was great. You know, how all the veterans, how they embraced me in there. I mean, I've never had a situation, I can't even understand what Matthew Stafford is talking about. I think it's really incumbent upon the guys who've been there to reach out to these young guys and let them know, because, hey, you're going to need these guys to win. You know, you're going to need these guys. You need to develop a relationship. I mean, I can talk about, there's a lot of different ways you do team building. I remember with the Rams, there's a lot of different things we did. We played basketball and stuff like that. It would be Kevin Green and, you know, Jim Everett, Mike Lansford, and we're all, you know, Michael Stewart. We're all playing basketball or softball, all kind of different team building things that we would do to get to know one another that, you know, that brought us closer together. So, Bo, what do you think? Is it incumbent on Matthew Stafford, or is it incumbent on that rookie to try to forge this relationship?
I mean, you know, like Coach said, it kind of has to go both ways. But I mean, in the interest of your team getting better, you would think Stafford would step into that role a little bit more. You know, that's one of those, he's the leader of that team. He's the face of the franchise as it sits today. So it's one of the things I always appreciated about the way that Peyton Manning or Tom Brady kind of conducted themselves, right? Like if you talk to anybody that played with either one of those guys, they're like, yeah, he knew my name. He seeked me out, you know, and it's not like people are saying Tom Brady was the hippest dude out there, right? Like, I mean, a lot of guys were like, I mean, he's just kind of a corny dad kind of guy, but he made the effort to include everyone on that team. And I mean, if you're trying to galvanize a team as a unit, you know, and you're the leader, then if the team isn't coming to you, then you need to go to them.
George?
Yeah, it reminds me of when a substitute teacher comes into a classroom. You know, I don't know who all these students are. I mean, the teacher that isn't there because of you're filling in for, she or he might have not had time to tell you. You know, Joey's a troublemaker, and watch for George in that third row. He likes to shoot paper airplanes. I mean, come on, Matthew. I mean, you're a professional, you're grown up, and you're making a ton of money. And it's incumbent upon you to be more open and to search these guys out, to get to know them. How you doing? I know you had a big, beautiful home in Detroit. I'm sure you got a big one in Southern California. You know, you could have a barbecue on a couple of different days. Maybe do the offense one day and the defense. If you can't fit everybody in your backyard. But I'm sorry, I don't. You know, I like Matthew. He's a great quarterback. He's a good human being. But this is a bit too far for me, Mel, to believe that he cannot be the leader that, like you guys said, should be in that clubhouse and learning these guys and getting to know them and having their backs, and then they'll have, you know, his back too.
Absolutely. Travis?
And so if you don't mind, can I read what she stated? Like
Sure.
the specific language. I want to make sure we're saying the same thing. She says, so it's kind of crazy. So Matthew's been in the league a long time. So he's like the difference in the locker room as it's changed so significantly. Like they have a lot of rookies on their team. They're very young, but he's like, I feel like I can't connect. In the old days, you come out of practice and you shower and people would be playing cards and interacting. But now they get out of practice and meetings and during training camp and they go straight to their phones. They say sir to him and he's like, no, we're on the same level here. We're both playing in the league. Let me get to know you. That's her whole statement on it. So I'm looking at that like, all right. I mean, I get that on some level. Like you almost feel like you're intruding on their time. They're not trying to interact and you're forcing yourself on it. But that kind of comes with the role. But I think what another piece of that is also the fact that he's coming from a team that was a really old team, not just a veteran team, but like a really old team, because they had so many veterans that you probably had half of your roster being guys, even the lower paid, like they were lower paid veterans. Like, you know, you have 4-year guys who are getting paid, you know, maybe vet minimums on that Rams team. And now they've just like erased a good portion of that roster to being filled with rookies. You have like different position groups that have like minimal veterans there. So it's not like you can't even say, all right, I'm going to go to my guy, that one linebacker. Like, I don't know all 50 people on the team, but I know I got my one dude over here who can, let me talk to him and he can get everybody else together and we can figure this out. Or, that one linebacker who's kind of taking control of the defense, and we can kind of talk to that guy and we can get this, piece together. And if they don't have that as a team, because they're still trying to figure that culture out because of that rebuild we were just, talking about a little bit ago, then that maybe that's part of that equation. It's like, hey, I'm getting to know these guys. We're rebuilding what the culture even looks like. Some of these veterans may not even be here next year, which you guys established earlier. And it's like, all right, cool. So then how do you build that culture if I'm only a piece of this? I can't necessarily blame Stafford for that. That's a real life situation. That's like starting a new job and nobody's really talking to me and I'm just going to have to force my way on them. It's the role, but it does suck.
Well, I think, maybe because he that wasn't the team that he was drafted by. Maybe he doesn't really feel that ownership there because he wasn't drafted by that team. He's only been there, this will be his third year. Last year, he wasn't playing that much. And so maybe he feels like an outsider as well. How things were done in Detroit versus how things are done in LA. Somebody has to step up and say, hey, this is who we are. This is how we're going to be, whether it's the head coach, whether it's one of the older veterans, somebody's, if you just go, like you said, invite the guys over for a barbecue. You'll get to know folks then. Don't give them too much alcohol though, because you might get to know them a little more than you want to. Just invite the guys over and have a good time. Shoot the breeze with them, and they'll get to know these players. Have their significant others come over, have the kids come over there, tear up your house, go through all your old candy and whatnot. Yeah. But you'll get to know the guys that way, and they'll have a better appreciation. And they probably won't call you sir then. They'll maybe they'll look at you more like as a teammate as opposed to an elder statesman.
I wonder if he also, because he's alluded to hanging him up, I wonder if he has a little less ambition to get to know everybody, because in the back of his mind, he might just be done after this season anyway.
Could be.
Well, remember one thing, I think the Rams wanted him to take a pay cut. Matthew Stafford said, I'm not taking a pay cut, just so you know. So if that doesn't tell you where his mindset is at, that's one thing.
Hey, I don't blame that man.
I wouldn't take a pay cut either.
If my boss came to me tomorrow and told me to take a pay cut, you know what I'm gonna be telling him? All right, I'm applying elsewhere, but I'm keeping my money, and I don't blame anybody for not.
I understand that.
Take a pay cut. They gave him that money. You should collect every darn nickel of it, for crying out loud. All he did was lead you to a Super Bowl. So, Mel, anything else you want to add?
Yeah. So one last thing, and I'm sure we'll probably talk about it next week. But anyway, I just bring it up because the hype train is wide open, and it's really been hyped up since the end of the college football season last year. This Colorado TCU game. I mean, they got Deion Sanders riding on a buffalo. They're playing old songs, Too Legit to Quit. Deion singing and dancing in the songs. And, man, they got this hype train going. So, who do you have? This TCU or Colorado, Coach?
Oh, man.
Colorado TCU lost their quarterback. He was just released by the Chargers. I'm sure they'll probably bring him back and put him on the practice squad. But, so I guess it could be the rebuild mode. We don't know what Deion has over there. We have no clue. So
I know that's what makes it intriguing, right? I mean, and neither does TCU. How hard is that to prepare for? I mean, you could probably figure out a scheme.
Well, they got a new offensive coordinator. Offensive coordinator came from, I forgot. Where did Saban go to school?
Kent State.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy's a excellent football coach.
Right.
I'm gonna take the Buffaloes.
Oh.
I'm actually going to go the same way. I don't know that Colorado wins a lot of games this year, but they are going to be so hyped for game one. I think just sheer excitement alone ends up getting them a win in this game. And then, they ultimately probably come back down to earth. I don't think they're going to be what everybody thinks or, keeps acting like they're going to be. But I think they can steal a win week one. And of course, because it's a TCU team that you don't know what they have under center.
Right. George?
Well, I'm going to take TCU. They gave fits to Michigan, as you guys remember, in the semifinals last year, and then laid a huge egg in the championship game. But there are a lot of new faces for Dion, and there's a lot of new obviously playbook and new scheme plays and all that. What I'm trying to say, I don't think I'm going to go with TCU in this one.
Travis?
I'm not letting y'all set me up for the okie doke. Nope. I'm going with TCU. I don't believe that Colorado will be the team that we want them to be this year. Just like I didn't believe Jackson State will be anything that first season. I will give him the grace to have that time to build this up, and I'm not going to set these insane first week expectations. While it sounds great for the media, I don't believe it in real life.
Scott, are you keeping track of who everybody's picking?
Well, actually, I'm kind of listening to what everybody's
No, we got to write them down because we have to post the standings.
Who do you pick, Scott?
You know what? Well, here, let's get it. We got Coach. Who you picking?
He's got Colorado.
I said Colorado.
You got Colorado. Okay, I'll do it now.
Bo's got Colorado.
Huh?
Bo's got Colorado.
Yep. You got Mel too? Mel has Colorado?
I got Colorado. Bo's got Colorado. George has TCU, and Travis has TCU.
Yep.
All right, so Mel, Coach,
and Bo,
Colorado.
Yep. I will only take Colorado against the spread because the spread's like 20 and a half.
No way. All right, so George, nice try. That's for sure what Holmes.
The spread is 20 and a half. 20.5.
George, you have TCU, right? And Travis has TCU, right?
I got TCU.
All right, well, you know what? I'm going Colorado.
Well, I can tell you this. Whether they play good or not, they do have a sunglass deal. So all of his players are going to look good when they come out. They're all going to have on some shades because they have a sunglass deal. So they'll look good getting off the bus.
Well, again, 4-2, and we will bring up this topic again next week. One topic down and a few more to go. That was good. I like Coach showing me to be accountable, keeping stats here. Look at this guy. There's nobody hope for podcasting with Coach Bono. This guy, I'll tell you what, one of these days I'm going to have fun. I'm going to have him host a show. How do you like that, Coach? Do you want to do it?
Yes, let's do it.
Well, I got a smile and a chuckle at him. Look at this guy. I'm keeping receipts. You're right there, Jeremy. All right. Anything else, Mel?
No, back to you, Scott.
All right. Well, you know what? I owe Ballreich this. Okay. Now he says Colorado. So you know what? I'll just ask the question and not post it. Did anyone watch the Giants game Saturday? And he has a question. And that question is what, Jeremy? Giants wide receiver, Jalen Hyatt. He looked like he could be a genetic experience between Pat Mahomes and Kermit the Frog. Where are you getting this stuff at? I didn't know that Bozo and Oopsie the Clown was asking this question. But all right, Jeremy, don't take it personal. I don't know. We'll leave it at. Anybody watch that Giants game?
Who the Giants play?
The Jets.
Exactly. I think they played the Jets.
Yeah, you know what? I missed it. I wanted to see Aaron Rodgers play for his 1 or 2 series, but I actually missed it. So
yeah, I watched parts of it.
Yeah, all right. Well, hey, Jeremy, next time you ask a question like this, come a little bit more full disclosure here with the question, and we'll assume that we all watch it just to give you a viable response. All right. So that's all right. Good stuff.
I like to bring Adrian Martinez back. I like Adrian Martinez. I thought he gave him a nice little spark. The Lions.
But you know what? It's all in good faith, Jeremy Ballreich. But our show is about to come to an end. Anybody have any closing thoughts here?
No, sir.
I mean, it's the saddest Tuesday in the NFL year. Well, not for 1,100 players out there that's trying to find a new job.
My brother were talking about that, man.
At UPS or whatever they're going to be doing.
A lot of dreams were busted. Hey, look here, I've been on that wire, so I know how that feels. That's a tough pill. You got to swallow hard, man. That's a tough big pill to swallow, but it is what it is, man. Life goes on.
You know what it does mean, though? Oh, go ahead.
No, that's okay, Bo.
Oh, I was just going to say, it does mean that we got some talent going to go hit the XFL, USFL, right?
Yeah,
so maybe
the guys have that. Yeah, I mean, if you want to continue playing, at that age, you'll play for free, pretty much. Heck, I did almost. So
I saw Jeremy's saying now Hyatt had his helmet off when the cameras caught him. All right. Anybody want to comment since
I don't understand.
Hyatt.
Yeah,
What are
I'm
you
not
talking
sure
about?
what he's going for there.
Who's
yeah,
hell?
I
Who's
saw
Hyatt?
what happened there. So anybody want to answer it or not?
Well, what happened? I don't know what happened.
Again, if none of us watched the game,
Yeah, well-
that provides no context at all.
All right, so there you go, Jeremy. What does provide context, though, will be how can everybody get a hold of you? But before I do that, I just want to mention one more time, in case you missed it, that Inside the Pigskin is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of the show can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google. Wherever you get your podcast, please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? Chat room's one way to do it, or send your topic ideas, southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Website, www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter @TribuneSouth. Candy Hemling is behind the scenes. And, of course, Jeremy Ballreich says 880 players hit the waiver wire. There you go. Well, to be continued. All right, everybody. All right, Coach Bono, you usually have the briefest one, so how can everybody get hold of you?
Well, you can get hold of me on LinkedIn. You can
Oh.
see me right here
Oh.
on most Tuesday nights.
Oh,
Other
really?
than that, out on the water, on the dock fishing, the gun range, or on Friday nights at your local high school football game.
Atta boy, love it. I love it. All right, Mel.
Coach, you just go to football games on Friday night? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I try to
do that
find like whoever a good matchup. I'll drive. I'm not going to drive real far,
Yeah.
but I just like, I just enjoy watching high school.
Hey, look here. I understand it. Football and track, man. Those are a couple
Yeah.
things that I absolutely love. I'll go watch folks do that. But anyway, you can find me on all social media at Melfar Jr., Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, or excuse me, not Twitter, X, Instagram, and Threads. And follow what we have going on for the youth here and in Michigan at melfar.org.
Threads. I still have to kind of get used to this one, although I haven't gotten on that one yet. All right, Bo, do you know anything about Threads?
I know you're not really missing much. It's not something that is used a ton yet. It not effectively, I guess I should say. I mean, there's users on it, but
Okay.
it doesn't have the fluidity that Twitter, X, or whatever you want to call it is. So they got some stuff to work out on Threads. It could be a good platform, but it's just not quite there yet. That being said, I am on Threads and every other social media at Football Talk with Bo, and of course right here on YouTube at Football-Talk.
Okay, we'll go to Travis. You can find me on all the socials at Travis D Holmes, whether that's Threads, actually I changed it. I am an adult now. It is no longer Trav Lights Bacon. I let that go after being vegetarian for long enough, So I am now officially even on Twitter, Travis D Holmes. Also on Facebook, on Threads, on Instagram, etc. I don't call it X. Your mama named you Twitter. I'm gonna call you Twitter. So we're going with that one. But I appreciate you guys having me. And if you want to find any of my Jacksonville Jaguar writings, you can go to bigcatcountry.com.
All right, ditto, Jeremy. Go ahead, George. Wrap it up.
Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. I authored the book. It's available for not very much cost. There's a link to purchase the book at the end of my column. I write under the South Florida Tribune and then under the Motor City Tribune, where you'll find some fine writers such as Jeremy and for Scott. And Scott's in the book with Jimmy Connors and Muhammad Ali. It's a great read. You can reach me at Yahoo at gicorn@yahoo.com, on X at SanGSports99, or you can find me on LinkedIn as well under my name. So you'll find me on 108 Stitches coming up. Looking forward to that baseball show right after this one, Scott.
Good stuff, George. Of course, Jeremy's your most recent customer, so that's good stuff. So
thanks, Jeremy.
But that said, okay, on deck, boy, Icorn, you've always given me a million great segues, and this is the latest one in a long line of them. So, with that said, on behalf of Coach Bono, Melfar Jr., Football Talk with Bo, and George Icorn, and Travis Holmes, my name is Scott Morganroth of Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us. And 108 Stitches Baseball Talk is coming up. Hope to see you on the back end on that show in just a matter of couple of minutes. Good night, everybody, and thank you very much for joining us.
Right.